This is me before I got into wildlife conservation, when I was an IT consultant, and I spent all my time traveling the world to be with nature and with wildlife. But there got to be a point where it started to feel very selfish. I realized that the vast majority of people are never going to see the things that I see. Today, almost 4 billion people live in cities. We are urban, tech-driven beings, and for most of us, the natural world will continue to drift farther and farther away from our daily lives and our priorities. So I decided to quit my perfectly good job and see whether we couldn't build an army of urban conservationists, whether they be stockbrokers in New York, or families in Jakarta, teachers in Berlin, or college students in Lagos. Because it's the engagement of these individuals that will drive the market conditions, the financing, and the government policy that's so critical to enabling conservation work worldwide. Now the good news is that a large percentage of these people, they already love wildlife. It's not that they don't care, and it's not that they don't know the facts. It's that they're not being engaged in terms that are relevant to their daily lives. Modern channels has the potential to change that. Consider, for example, that 2.1 billion people around the world play games, mobile games only, and that number is growing. It's actually astounding to me that there aren't literally thousands of games out there about wildlife conservation. Our outreach efforts have to consider these consumers and the channels they use and engage them on their terms, not ours. So at Internet of Elephants, we use an approach that combines a few core concepts to try and make that happen. And the first is we use tech to create empathy by telling the stories of individual animals.
Fleur and Valentine are sisters who live with their 6 adolescent cubs near Lake Elementita. As a pride, they remain close to each other 90% of the time for protection, cooperative hunting, and social bonding. When Valentine is ready to find a mate, she makes 2 trips into the adjoining Nakuru National Park. She remains in the area for approximately 3 days each time, probably accompanied by a male lion. On her second trip back to her pride, we see that something is blocking her way. The once non-functioning electric fence has been fixed, and she cannot get through. Valentine becomes stressed and hungry and nearly dies. Researchers intervene to transport Valentine back to Fleur and the rest of the pride. Soon after, she gives birth to 3 new cubs.
Second, we make it interactive. So in this data visualization, we model the movements of over 3,000 animals over a 7-day period of time at Olpejeta Conservancy, giving a bird's eye view of the diversity and interaction of life within the park. The user can explore a wildlife-rich region and learn more about its habitat, about the wildlife, or dive into individual storylines about the animals and the conservation work. So imagine how we could communicate the impact of the Arctic melt on polar bear populations, or the impact or the effect of fences on wildebeest migrations using similar techniques. Third, we bring the user into the story. So last year, we explored the potential and the power for augmented reality in individual animals to catch people's attention. We recreated 6 real animals and brought their stories to a global audience through a playful application called Safari Central. We received thousands of photographs from Brazil to India to Russia as players competed to be the augmented reality wildlife photographer of the year. And fourth, we enrich the experience by gamifying it. So right now, we're building a game that creates missions for players to play the scientist, studying apes in the Congo and Borneo by exploring their own areas to try and track these animals and support the conservation organizations that work with them. So think Pokemon Go, except with orangutans and chimpanzees. So whether it be games or data visualizations or other techniques that bring wildlife stories to a larger audience, we have to get out of our comfort zone of who we're engaging and how we're engaging them. Because without attracting and activating the next generation of potential difference makers, the next 100 years of wildlife conservation will continue to be an uphill battle, supported only by the will of the very few. So if you're interested in building that army with us, come find Jeff or I over the course of the next few days. Thanks very much for this second opportunity. Thank you.